Now that I'm a cyborg, I don't feel closer to machines or to robots. I feel much closer to nature and to other animal species. Many people believe that becoming technology will separate us from nature. To me, it's quite the opposite. Now I feel a closer connection to nature because I can sense ultraviolets and infrareds. I feel much more closer to other animal species like insects because I also have an antenna, and also I can connect to space through the internet. So I feel that technology is allowing me to feel connection to reality and to Earth and to space that I didn't have before.
The goal in the very long term is to be 100% artificial and leave the planet, right? We're number one, we're past the load-bearing capacity of our planet, and we could design ourselves in a much more efficient and less impactful way and go and travel the stars and see everything there is to see.
Ich sehe mich selber als Cyborg, als kybernetischen Organismus. Ich habe früher viele Jahre lang programmiert und das Implantat in meinem Körper ist ein Computer. Und jetzt sitze ich davor und würde ihn gerne programmieren. Ich würde gerne rausfinden, wenn dieser Computer, der sowieso da ist, was der noch alles kann.
Ever since humans invented computer chips, we have dreamt of plugging them into us or plugging us into them. Currently, electronic devices are implanted to treat medical conditions. But one day technology will do more than just bringing us back to normal. It will enhance us, giving us more strength, new senses, and maybe even more intelligence, turning us into cyborgs. Around the world, adventurous pioneers are already experimenting on themselves. Scientists are more cautious, but some of them too dream of augmenting the capabilities of the human body.
I think in 100 years, we would not even recognize the body. Our views today that we hold so strongly on what the body is will seem so limited and stagnant and ignorant.
By incorporating, again, the robotics technology to our body, we human will be much more capable for the future, and which is a step difference, from us being, right now. So we call that human 2.0.
I think that our technology begins to seamlessly enter us, and we begin to seamlessly enter our technology base. I think that the fusion of the man-made and the synthetic and the organic is the future.
Everything is go. The takeoff of the Atlas, blasted aloft by 360,000 pounds of thrust, carries the Mercury gracefully skyward.
In 1960, at the dawn of the space age, two American scientists coined a new concept: cyborg, contraction of cybernetic organism. The word defined an enhanced human who incorporates technology into the body in order to survive in space. The cyborg idea entered popular culture when Life magazine wrote about it with an illustration by Fred Freeman, a graphic artist who specialized in drawing about space exploration. Actually, NASA and other space agencies took the opposite path: to create a contained environment adapted to humans, the space capsule, and the spacesuit. For the time being, cyborgs are not yet in space. But on Earth, some people have already started to incorporate technology into their bodies to acquire enhanced capabilities.
This arm feels like more my own arm I had before when I had the real arm. It's like I feel the weight of it and it's more like my body.
Good to see you. Can I see your badge, please? What's the reason that you have been amputated?
It's a tumor.
Okay.
From the beginning.
I would like to see your loop. Got the cable, okay?
There was a cable.
Magnus has the most advanced bionic arm in the world.
Ever have problems with infections?
It's the only one
No,
osseointegrated, implanted
you.
into the skeleton.
Yeah.
Moreover, electrodes implanted in his
Same
nerves
settings,
and muscles are electrically stimulated when he touches an object, giving him a sense of touch.
He can feel in 3 different points because we have 3 different contacts around the nerve. Depending which contact we use, he will feel you touching him in different parts of the hand. Prosthesis?
Max Ortiz Catalan, a Mexican
And this
engineer,
is pretty much
is
the
the
same.
creator of
The difference
Magnus's arm,
between
which has been
that arm and
implanted
this
since
arm is that this arm
2013.
has sensors in the thumb.
So maybe you can show us some of the tasks when you solve it?
Medical.
This is too slippery, this one.
We can put the other. It's hard to engage even for me.
Max and Magnus are in Switzerland to participate in the first Cyberthron, an event organized by the Technical University of Zurich to promote innovation in technology that helps people with disabilities. Some have called it the first Cyborg Olympics. The Cyberthron shows the growing importance of the bionics research and industry. Teams from different countries compete in several disciplines. Powered exoskeletons, powered arms, powered legs, powered wheelchairs, and brain-computer interfaces, which are used to play video games with the mind. The races are related to everyday simple tasks. All these devices are designed to give back to the users some physical capabilities they had lost. But there are already scientists who envision using technology to go beyond restoration and enhance the human being.
Because of the future of bionics, human-machine interaction, the design world merging with our physiologies, I can't imagine taking bionics out of the equation. And I mean, the future of sport would just be so boring. I mean, so you shave yet another fraction of a second off, or some race, or.
Many bionic arms allow to rotate the wrist 360 degrees. This full rotation may not seem like much, but that's exactly how technology is crossing the boundary from restoration into augmentation.
The prostheses we have, they're very strong. You know, when you are in the lab and you're testing in the beginning, you'll never put your hand there because something goes wrong. They can crush your hand. I think human enhancement will be possible, but at this point, still fighting to remove disabilities.
Because it's implanted, Magnus's arm makes him a true cyborg, a unique case in the field of bionics. But there's another technology which has turned 300,000 people all over the world into cyborgs. Cochlear implants that allow deaf people to hear again. Enno Park is a computer programmer who lives in Berlin. He lost his hearing when he was 20 years old. Now his 2 cochlear implants allow him to perceive sounds again.
Das war ein ganz großartiges Gefühl. Das war wie, geil, ich bin wieder da. Die Welt ist wieder da. Das Cochlea-Implantat, das besteht aus 2 Teilen. Das eine ist unsichtbar von außen, weil das komplett in meinem Körper verschwindet. Und das andere trage ich so wie ein Hörgerät hinterm Ohr. Nur, dass diese Spule eben an meinem Hinterkopf haftet. Das tut sie magnetisch. Unter der Haut ist das Gegenstück ein Empfänger, der nimmt ein Signal auf, stimuliert den Hörnerv auf elektrische Weise und das erzeugt in meinem Gehirn die gleichen Muster. Dieses Hören ist ein bisschen anders als das natürliche Hören. Es ist sehr, sehr schwer zu erklären. Alles klingt so ein bisschen sphärisch, alles klingt ein bisschen nach Techno und nach Geräuschteppichen. Aber dieses Gefühl des Fremden verschwindet dann mit der Zeit. Man gewöhnt sich an dieses andere Hören, so wie man sich daran gewöhnt, dass man zum Beispiel eine Sonnenbrille trägt, die die Farben alle verändert.
These implants still have some disadvantages, such as surgical risks, a limited frequency range, poor audio quality in some situations, and he needs to replace the batteries frequently. But the patient already enjoys some degree of enhancement.
Die absoluten Lieblingsfeatures, die das Cochlea-Implantat hat, klingt vielleicht auf den ersten Blick albern, ist aber, ich kann es abschalten. Ich nehme es ab und bin dann in dem Moment auf dem Ohr auch taub. Da bin ich dann auch tatsächlich ein Kandidat für die preiswerte Wohnung an der lauten Eisenbahn. Dieses Kabel, das eine Ende kommt in mein Implantat und das andere Ende ist so ein ganz normaler Klinkenstecker. Den kann ich in jede Klangquelle einstecken. Und dann kann ich hören, was aus dem Telefon oder aus der HiFi-Anlage oder wo auch immer ich das anschließe, kommt. Dann telefonierst du eigentlich schon direkt mit meinem Gehirn. Ich benutze im Moment im Wesentlichen 2 Programme. Eins ist normal für den Alltag und ein anderes Programm ist ganz speziell für schwierige, laute Umgebungen. Das ist ziemlich cool, da kann ich dann in einem sehr lauten Club teilweise wesentlich besser zuhören und verstehen als normal hörende Menschen, die sich da gegenseitig ins Ohr schreien müssen. Er fragt, wie dein Wochenende war. Ach so, okay, ja, dann. Ja, ich war nicht mehr. Da wurde wirklich laut, die Bässe, wum, 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 da. Das funktioniert toll. Ich habe früher viele Jahre lang programmiert und das Implantat in meinem Körper ist ein Computer. Und jetzt sitze ich davor und würde ihn gerne programmieren. Ich würde gerne herausfinden, wenn dieser Computer, der sowieso da ist, was der noch alles kann. Ob ich super leise Dinge damit hören kann, ob ich andere Frequenzbereiche wie Ultraschall plötzlich wahrnehmen könnte und dann gucken könnte, ob die Welt plötzlich ganz anders klingt, wenn ich nicht nur die Vögel höre, sondern auch Fledermäuse.
If you compare humans with other animal species, you can see that humans have a very low perception of reality. The antenna now allows me to perceive a layer that goes beyond sight. So it allows me, for example, to perceive ultraviolet. So if I go here, if I see a bee on a flower and I perceive that there's ultraviolet there, then I know that the bee is there because of ultraviolet. My name is Neil Harbison and I'm a cyborg. That's how I feel. Since I'm 11, that I know that I'm completely colorblind, and that's when I started to have a huge curiosity about color. Even if you don't see color, you can't ignore that color exists, so I wanted to have a sense of color, not because I thought that seeing in black and white was negative, but because I felt that everyone was using colors and everyone was talking about colors, so I felt this social aspect of life that I wasn't able to sense. The antenna is basically picking up the light frequencies in front of me, and then it sends them to a chip in my head, which transposes the light frequencies to vibrations that become different notes to my ears. It wasn't that I decided the sound of each color, it's the actual frequency of sound that I hear. When I walk in the street, I find music everywhere. Yellow post boxes are G, trees are A, some buildings might sound C major, others might sound A flat. Also, when I hear sounds, I can relate the sound to a color or an object. Most telephone lines sound green. Some people say that we are black and white, but it's not true. We are all different shades of orange. The antenna keeps changing what people think it is. In 2004, they thought it was just a reading light. Then in 2006, they thought it was a microphone. 2008, or they thought it was like a Bluetooth telephone. In 2010, they thought it was more like a GoPro that I was filming. In 2012, they thought it was something to do with Google Glass. And now the last thing was a child asked me if it was some kind of selfie stick that it was attached to my head. The antenna create a lot of interaction with strangers. I talk to strangers every single day of my life, and I have to explain what it is. So infrareds allow me to know if there's movement detectors in shops or banks, so I can tell if the alarms are on or off. Maybe 20 or 15 years ago, people would say my mobile phone is running out of battery, but now many people say I'm running out of battery. This slight change in saying that you are running out of battery is a clear sign that we are already psychologically united to technology in many different levels.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name's Tim Cannon.
And I'm Sean Sarver.
We are the development team for Grindhouse Wetwares. We're going to be showcasing some of the things that we've been working on. This is a device built by cyborgs for cyborgs. I had a neodymium magnet implanted in my left ring finger, and I've been doing a lot of experiments with it, trying to see what kind of sensory input I can get. When I first got my finger magnet, that realization hitting me was really, really inspiring. You sense something that you didn't know was there because of your enhancement, and that's where you have this kind of wake-up moment, and you're like, I'm blind. I'm way more blind than I think I am, right? There are things going on around me, patterns existing in space that I'm interacting with all the time, and I do not have the hardware to experience it.
Tim Cannon lives next to Pittsburgh. As a child in the 1980s, all the city suffered a severe deindustrialization, caused partly by robots taking jobs in the steel and electronics industries.
When I was a kid, there was a lot of talk about robots taking over certain types of factory jobs, steel workers. That was still a very prevalent thing. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice if we could be that powerful, if we could be the robots?
Tim is now a biohacker and one of the founders of the body hacking group Grindhouse Wetware.
I'm running software right now under my skin. That to me is really neat. I could add any sensor to that and it would be able to detect and read, and then once you start adding Bluetooth, you can then connect it to the digital world in such a greater way. And these are things that are just like right on the cusp of happening. So yeah, I have my North Star implant right here, which is just a simple light, and I have an XNT here. This has the coordinates to, I think, my house currently stored on it, so I can just sweep my phone over it, and it'll open up to a map of my house. I have a magnet in this finger. It allows me to feel electromagnetic fields and this sort of thing. Actually, I also have a magnet in my tragus that can be bombarded with like tones and sound, and that's pretty interesting. You can like hear music through it if you if you put it up there and stuff. I had my circadia implant was inserted here and sat here.
Hey everybody, my name is Tim Cannon. I just became the first man to implant a device in my body that was solely for the purpose of enhancing myself.
So here
a
we
few
go.
years ago,
This is going
Tim had the circadia
right in my arm.
implanted. This
It went well.
biomedical
It
device
went
sent
well.
his body
Lot of
temperature
pain.
to the internet
You know, lot
via
of
Bluetooth.
grunting, lot of-
Its code was open source, and Tim designed it so
large.
that the user would
Yeah.
have full
Connected.
control over how the data was collected and
Go
used.
ahead and we'll turn on
The
the light.
circadia was a proof of concept prototype. Tim had it removed after 3 months, once it had been deemed a success.
The simple proof that this can be done should be earth-shattering. But everybody's just like, look at how big that is. Okay. I see you get it. You know, right? So
Time for everybody at home.
we actually learned a lot from it. And we also learned that we should just make it smaller. Right? Just smaller's good. There's that 4 megahertz.
Lexi and everyone else kind of just went out.
Chip is AT44, is that right?
Yep. These are 44s.
We do things outside of an official lab type setting. You know, our heroes are people like William Gibson and this sort of this particular cyberpunk aesthetic of the future, Blade Runner and this sort of thing. And so these are the kind of ways in which we grew up, was this sort of, rather than thinking of this stuff as like, oh, well, that's for scientists to do, right? There were images of this being done in like back alleys and basements and friends doing it to one another because it was just so accessible, right? And that's the future that we're interested in seeing.
Programmer not responding.
Is this our pocket programmer?
Yeah.
And this doesn't work?
Yeah, no. We don't have any pocket programmers that work anymore. Yeah.
This is exactly what happened with the PC revolution, right? Once the PC became accessible, that's when you had this like explosion of innovation. And that's what we'd like to see in biohacking, is this explosion of innovation that takes place outside of formal settings and just really unleashing the creativity of the human mind.
Tim, Neil, and Enno are not alone. All over the world, individuals and organizations outside the scientific establishment are exploring how to merge several technologies with the human body. 3D printed prosthetic arms, radio frequency chips that enable the user to access buildings, log on computers, and even make payments with a wave of the hand. These devices have been promoted at implant parties worldwide, from Sweden to Australia.
Congratulations to being upgraded. Big applause!
Brain-computer interfaces to monitor brain activity and to control devices with the mind. Kits for transcranial direct current stimulation, a technique for sending electricity through the brain with external electrodes. It is supposed to enhance alertness, boost focus, and increase learning capacity.
So my conclusion is dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, while stimulated, is very effective.
The interest in increasing cognitive abilities through external devices is shared by amateurs and scientists. But there's a frontier that can only be crossed in labs and hospitals, going inside the brain. Deep brain stimulation is a technique that has been in use since the 1990s to treat movement disorders such as Parkinson's disease, in cases where patients do not respond to medication. Deep brain stimulation is a brain pacemaker. 2 electrodes are implanted deep into the brain to stimulate a particular region. They send electrical current to correct the abnormal firing of neurons related to motor activity.
¿Qué tal, Chelo? Com estàs? Pots parlar una miqueta ara? Et costa molt. Pots dir hola?
Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurological disorder that affects the central nervous system. Symptoms include tremors, rigidity, stiffness, walking problems, and in some cases, even the inability to speak. When doctors turn the implants on, the symptoms disappear miraculously.
No, estoy contenta. Esa contenta. Es que és que me puedo pintar les unes ara, que no, me feia anys que no podia pintar.
Anys que no podies fer-ho,
Car una cosa molt delicada.
És molt empíric, no? El treball. Posem a l'electroda, sabem que va bé, per això ho fem, i un cop posat busquem quina és la combinació que ens vagi millor per millorar el pacient. No sabem realment què estem fent, per tant, és prova-error.
Con el troncho, dices.
¿quieres probar en 8?
Quiero probar en 8,5 o en 8.
The use of deep brain stimulation is now being tested in clinical trials in more than 40 regions of the brain for 30 different clinical disorders that affect a large portion of the population, including chronic pain, obesity, and depression. In spite of its miraculous success, deep brain stimulation has limitations. The system is quite bulky, and some years after surgery, its effectiveness begins to wane and the symptoms come back.
All right.
There we go.
Very fast.
Other brain implants are used to control robotic limbs with the mind. These brain-computer interfaces are still connected to wires and are only used in animal and human clinical trials, such as these at the University of Pittsburgh. There, Jan Scheuermann was able to feed herself chocolate with a robotic arm just by using her thoughts.
They tell me.
In Berkeley, Mitchell Mahabitz and Jose Carmena are working on much smaller implants, a system they call neural dust. These implants, less than a millimeter in size, don't need cables because they're powered wirelessly. They may be used to replace the current bulky implants used to control robotic limbs or for deep brain stimulation, and even to monitor and regulate the activity of any organ in the body.
Capture what the neurons are doing or what muscle is doing, for example. And so the ability to have some object that could, for 20 or 30 years, really modulate that activity, it would be a game changer.
La pregunta del millón de ¿y cuándo va a estar esa tecnología ahí? Lo que yo digo siempre, no es una función escalón de un día, pum, vas a tener eso disponible ahí. Pues en 5 o 10 años empezaremos a ver ya el paso de lo que es ensayo clínico a rutina de implantar a estos pacientes. A partir de ahí lo que será es mejoras, como ocurrió con el implante coclear.
We really are at a point where you can begin imagining in 10 or 15 years, you could have many very small objects that are continuously giving you the state of your nervous system, the state of your glands, the state of some internal organs, and possibly putting information in a limited way back into these systems. And that, I think that is really the frontier of the next 40 years.
But today, the brain is still quite a mystery. If scientists one day should succeed at mapping the brain in all its complexity, the possibility of human enhancement will become much more real. In theory, we will be able to design ourselves with practically no limitation.
Can our brain, adapt it to that, and then, a fifth and a sixth limbs? Can we really control them? Is there any room in our brain to, create the extra limbs? That's a challenge. But our recent research, reveals that yes, human is capable.
Experiments in animals have also shown that brain implants could restore and enhance our senses, or even create new ones.
You can have radar, infrared. These are solved problems, in my opinion. We know how to do that. Telepathy, sure, why not? I don't think these things are beyond our reach. It might be a weird experience, and what is a little bit unpredictable is, of course, how much, let's say, damage you would have in other modalities, but I think it will be less than we think it is.
Paul Verschoor from the Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona is working on a brain chip for Alzheimer's patients that could be used as a backup for memories.
There might be possibilities to actually read states from the brain as they are stored in memory and sort of copy them in an external device. So that when the brain side of that memory is deteriorating, you have, let's say, a backup. It's a little bit of a science fiction scenario, but can I envision that this is approachable? Yes.
We will see amazing things in the future, that's for sure. But society will need to adapt to the new challenges and demands posed by cyborgs. The members of Grindhouse Wetware are already facing problems society is not ready for. Jess, one of the members of the group, is having a new magnet implant.
You ready to get your magnet put in?
Let's do this.
She goes to a tattoo parlor because that's where most implants are made in the United States.
So you said you had other magnets done, yes?
Correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other magnets.
Jesus. More than I do.
A good deal of these procedures border on the illegal, depending on the regulations in each state. Using a scalpel or any kind of anesthesia could be classified as practicing medicine.
We ready?
I'm ready to go.
Without a medical license, a piercer who does this is technically committing assault on the person getting the implant.
Just wrap that up for a second.
Alrighty.
Hold that, and we'll clean up.
Perfect.
Are you guys done, yes?
Magnet number 6. Yes. I would like to see just how many different ways we can use these implanted magnets to gain new senses for the world around us. Over here, and I got
Grindhouse members hold periodic online meetings with biohackers from other parts of the world to share their projects and ideas.
1 megahertz and an internal.
Should we bring what Ryan mentioned yesterday?
Yeah, Ryan said he was contacted, or he contacted a plastic surgeon who was interested in working with us and interested in helping.
Helping with like FDA approval and like everything that we're having problems with.
This is excellent news. I'm not worried about FDA approval. I'm worried about being classified as a medical device. You know, at some level of authority, people just go to the underground. If you're willing to be reasonable, we'd accept regulation. If you're not, we're totally not going to be regulated, and we don't care if you put laws in place. Yeah, good luck. You know what I mean? Like you're dealing with some very smart people who hate authority, right? You know what I mean?
Y la operación pues duró unas horas. Esta es mi cabeza mirando abajo. Me quitaron pelo, entonces reducimos la piel para evitar posibles infecciones. Entonces mi cabeza.
In 2013, my head was drilled 4 times, so I would have 4 different entries. One is for the vibration, the thing that vibrates in my bones. The other 2 implants are for holding the whole structure. And the 4th implant is for internet connection, so it's Bluetooth that allows me to connect to any external device. Finding someone willing to do the implant was really challenging because I had to talk to a bioethical committee and I had to convince them. They said no. They said that this was not ethical for 3 reasons. One, it was not correcting anything. It was creating a new sense. Second reason was they weren't sure about the dangers of having a new implant in the head. Also, the third one was the image the hospital would have. If someone came out of their hospital with an antenna sticking out of their head, they thought that this wouldn't be serious. So these were the 3 reasons. And then I tried to find a doctor willing to do it anonymously, and then I found one, and the surgery was done.
For the cyborgs among us, every day brings a new brush with social rules that are not adapted to their needs. Neil is often denied access to cinemas because the managers fear he will somehow record the film with his antenna. Sometimes, though, meaningful victories are achieved. In 2004, Neil had an argument with the British Passport Office about his ID picture.
I kept insisting that this should not be treated as a device, but as a body part. And then after some months, they accepted the explanation and they allowed me to appear in the passport with the antenna.
Thus, Neil became the first cyborg in the world to be officially recognized by a government.
I don't wear the antenna. The antenna is a body part, so it's not a wearable device. It's a body part. It's different. I don't use technology or wear technology. I am technology. The body part is usually laughter because they see someone with an antenna, so they think it's funny in many cases, so they just shout weird names at me, like aliens or Teletubby. They shout different names. I have a whole list. Some other people take it very seriously and they get offended because they think I'm doing something illegal. They think this is against God, that it's against humanity, that it's immoral, and they think I should be killed.
World of possibilities opening up right now. We have the freedom to merge technology with ourselves. Design yourself.
In 2010, Moon Ribas and I created the Cyborg Foundation. There were lots of people emailing us saying that they also wanted to extend their senses and their perception of reality, so we decided we should create an international organization that would help all these people create their own senses. So we would pair them with technology people, and then we would try to help them find a doctor willing to implant the new sense, because it's quite important now at the beginning that we all try to share as much as possible in this experimentation.
In Berlin, Enno Park has also founded a cyborg organization, Cyborgs EV, to promote cyborg rights and to do political lobbying. In these sessions, they discuss cyborg culture and the latest technological developments.
Das eigentlich, wie gesagt, nämlich die Frage, gibt es ein Limit der Implantationsmenge? Das ist natürlich etwas, was wir im Moment nicht erreichen, wenn wir ganz einfach hier so einen komischen Chip, meiner heilt gerade und juckt deswegen immer noch tierisch.
Das ist keine irgendwie halb Science-Fiction-Transhumanismus-Seite oder so, sondern das ist Branchen-News für Mediziner und Medizintechnik. Und die haben einen Prototyp eines Herzschrittmachers gebaut, bei dem eine kleine Turbine in eine Vene eingesetzt wird, wo ein kleiner Propeller drin ist, der daraus Energie gewinnt aus dem Blutkreislauf und damit den Herzschrittmacher mit Energie versorgt.
Dieser Gedanke, sich selbst antreibendes Gerät, ist sehr faszinierend, großartig.
Beim Audiologen war ich jetzt schon ziemlich lange nicht mehr. Das ist derjenige, der die Cochlea-Implantate für mich einstellt.
Die Lautstärke ist okay, oder?
Die klingt normal.
Die klingt normal. Okay.
Ich sage, das und das klang gut, das und das könnte man verbessern, und dann versucht er in vielen Detailparametern bessere Einstellungen zu finden. Könnte ich diese ganzen Einstellungen, die wir jetzt gerade gemacht haben, könnte ich die nicht eigentlich auch mit dem Laptop selber machen?
Das können Sie A darum nicht, weil weil sie die Software nicht haben und Cochlea die nicht rausgibt und B dazu, es ist ja eine Stimulation am zentralen Nervensystem, da sind die Hersteller natürlich gehalten oder verpflichtet, nur Leute ranzulassen, die da geschult sind von ihnen. Das ist jetzt
der freut sich ja sogar, dass ich mich so dafür interessiere, aber er darf es mir nicht geben, er darf mir nicht helfen, würde er sich wahrscheinlich doch ziemlich viel Ärger bekommen und muss mich dann vertrösten und muss es halt für mich machen.
In 2016, Enno was invited to the European Parliament by the Green Working Group Robotics to a public hearing about the ethics of merging man and machine. There he argued that he should have the right to manipulate the implant.
Das heißt, in mir läuft Code, den andere Menschen mal programmiert haben. Das ist eine spannende Frage. Wer hat eigentlich diesen Code programmiert? Was damit bezweckt? Kann ich diesen Code eigentlich beeinflussen? Klingt jetzt nicht besonders dramatisch, wenn man von so einem Cochlea-Implantat ausgeht, das in erster Linie dazu da ist.
And these wearables, and I think that's kind of something.
Teilweise dann meine Nachfolger hier oben auf dem Podium. Dankeschön.
The European Commission, through the NERI project, is trying to answer some of these questions, taking human enhancement for granted. NERI organizes events all around Europe to establish a dialogue between potential users, scientists, and legislators. They discuss the ethical and social implications of these technologies. Some of these events take place in high schools, such as this one in Denmark. Internet already offers devices for enhancement, such as this external brain stimulator that claims to boost mental capacities.
But it's available and it's completely unregulated. Everybody can buy it.
A group of students verifies on a pig head the capacity of these brain stimulators to induce electrical current inside the skull. Another group uses a parabolic microphone to imagine what a super hearing sense could do, and they reflect on the positive and negative effects that it would have on their social interactions. The last experiment is about a supervision sense, where the students can only see what another one sends them with their phone camera, imagining future implants where the visual signal could be fed by any camera or external device.
I wouldn't like all this technology in my life myself. I wouldn't like it. It reminds me of some science fiction film or something, but it's actually going into reality. I actually think it's really positive, you know, that we can help people that way, that sort of makes people more equal.
It could lead to like a split country. These people who are for it will become literally superior to the other ones, which creates this huge rift between ones who are for it, ones who are against it.
Some humans will just strive to build bionics and such. We should not just slide it under the rug and like we've done with drugs, for example, and we should keep it out in the open and study it, basically.
So then 100 years from now, will we have, let's say, biohackers, as you already see them in many science fiction movies, where people will find refuge for, let's say, augmenting their body in some way? Will it happen? Yes, all these things will happen, but we need regulation because humans are uncontrollable, greedy.
So yeah, perhaps we will see a synergy where we will be more and more robotic, but we will also still be humans. Perhaps.
Les dirigeants politiques sont très en retard. Ils ne sont pas plongés dans le futur. En France comme ailleurs, les dirigeants politiques raisonnent à 15 jours, la Chine raisonne à 50 ans, et la Silicon Valley réfléchit à 1000 ans.
In the mecca of technology, a movement called transhumanism has taken to the extreme the idea that technology can solve all of humanity's problems, capturing the imagination of the leading Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. Transhumanists do not only share the vision of enhancing our physical, intellectual, and psychological capacities, they are convinced that we can overcome death itself. In their unbridled technological optimism, they see this as happening in just a couple of decades, although most scientists disagree with such expectations. Nevertheless, The largest corporations in Silicon Valley have embraced the transhumanists' ideas, and they are already investing millions in life extension research. Zoltan Istvan is the first transhumanist to step into the political arena. He founded the Transhumanist Party and ran as a candidate in the last US presidential elections.
There should be rights for futurist people that want to do things to their body with technology, and also maybe for future beings like artificial intelligence or robots that might have consciousness someday.
I'm a presidential candidate. I'm controversial as it is. I speak about transhumanism. I want to lose my humanity and become a machine. The future is not biology. Biology is frail. Biology is like the dinosaurs. It's not very effective. You know, if you were going to create a perfect human being, you wouldn't create one with biology. You wouldn't create a machine that eats or drinks or that has to go to the bathroom. I mean, these are flaws in a system of creating a strong, perfect, godlike entity. Something that's nothing can harm. There's no suffering, there's no pain.
Painting the coffin bus. A historical moment right here. The first coffin bus probably ever, right?
I think ever. I really could not find another one.
In 2015, Zoltan drove across the US from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. in a 40-foot coffin-shaped bus to spread the transhumanist idea that 21st century technology can conquer death in the next 25 years if citizens and governments will support it.
I need to do something a bit crazy, an attention-grabbing thing. And, you know, a 40-foot coffin going down the road is something to look at. We must have reached millions and millions of people that way. And we told them, look at that coffin. If you don't use transhumanism technology, you're going to end up in that coffin as well.
The tour stopped at cemeteries, the Church of Perpetual Life, grassroots protests, robotics labs, a cryonics facility, and a biohacker event where he got a chip implanted.
There we go.
Excellent.
The campaign surprised everyone and was very popular in the media to the point that he was among the most talked about outsider candidates in the US elections. The tour ended in Washington, where he nearly got arrested while trying to hang the Transhumanist Bill of Rights on the wall of the US Capitol.
Can we tape it just for 10
No.
seconds?
No, can't do that.
Oh, no, not at all?
Yeah.
One of its articles spells out morphological freedom, the right to change or enhance the human body.
The Transhumanist Bill of Rights is not just for human beings. It's for the kinds of beings that we're going to create here in the next 20, 30, and 40 years. As a presidential candidate, I would insist that people have the choice to enhance or to not enhance. But in this day and age, to not be accepting of technology means to take a step back in your career or even your ability to provide a livelihood for yourself and your family. So you're going to need to take the upgrades. You're going to need to take it because it's the only way to stay ahead in society.
Please join me in welcoming Zoltan Istvan to the stage.
Zoltan admitted having no chance of winning the elections. His aim was rather to bring transhumanism to the political mainstream.
This is the future that you're looking at 10, 15
He had no financial support from Silicon Valley corporations, who funded nearly all of his campaign expenses on his own.
Aujourd'hui, les partis politiques qui se réclament du transhumaniste sont tout à fait marginaux. Et les membres sont un peu des zozos, un peu bizarres. Mais dans le futur, je pense que progressivement, l'opposition entre la droite et la gauche va se transformer et que la vraie opposition, en 2050, elle sera entre les bioconservateurs et les transhumanistes et que les vieilles oppositions politiques auront disparu.
We're transforming the planet into something that's very different, into a kind of a machine world, a cyborg world, a world.
En tout cas, il sera un homme nouveau, un homme 2.0, comme le dit Ray Kurzweil de Google. Mais cet homme 2.0, ça n'est plus vraiment un homme.
In the cyberthrone, Magnus has classified for the Power Arm's final race, which is about to take place.
Good luck to you. Yeah, good luck to you.
I'll help you, champ. When I look the Iron Man movie, I would like to build one of those suits, just because it's cool and it's a technological challenge. We will try to do it just because we can. So that's what's gonna happen. Even if there is no need, we'll try to do it because it's engineeringly, interesting and scientifically very interesting, of course.
Run.
There. Good.
Ich hätte gerne ein kleines Modul für mein Gehirn, das mir hilft, mir die Namen von Menschen zu merken, weil ich unglaublich leicht vergesse und dann treffe ich sie wieder und habe vergessen, wie sie heißen. Genau das, da habe ich so ein bisschen meine Zweifel, ob wir das noch zu meiner Lebenszeit werden realisieren können, aber wenn, wäre das natürlich toll.
I think that most human beings want to be peaceful explorers, to go out into space and interact with other things and interesting stuff. And the vessel we're in now, the human body, is not designed for doing that. It's not designed to be moral. It's not designed to live long enough. It's in no way designed for the goals of our future. And so I don't see a reason why we don't change the vessel.
Put it down. Slow. It's okay. Move. Cross. Whoa! Good.
Magnus finishes first, but the overall victory is for Bob Radissi, who wins by points. Paradoxically, Bob has the least robotic arm in the competition. His body-powered prosthesis is just a molded socket powered by a metal cable that is pulled with the movement of the body.
Competitors that we have that did
In
a wonderful
2020,
job, but in
there
some
will be a
ways they're
second
limited by the
cyberflow.
actual bulk.
Maybe then, Max and Magnus, and their bionic arm, will reach the top of the podium.
Do you consider yourself as a cyborg?
I don't understand the question.
Cyborg, do you think you're a cyborg?
Maybe. No.
No,
I don't think so.
Where are we going with this technology, right? Is this really the future? Am I going to have something like this in my head in a few years and now I can, let's say, make more calculations more rapidly or something like that? However, if you look at our broken education system, it also tells you that we haven't really capitalized on the capabilities of brains as such. So maybe that's the thing we should worry about first before we jump into this sort of post-human consideration of, okay, let's add technology to the brain.
Hopefully we can all change this conception of negativity that the word has, but I think slowly it's changing and people are starting to see that becoming a cyborg is not something to laugh at. It's not something related to science fiction. It's something extremely real and positive that can help us explore space and also explore our planet.